Hey friends, welcome back. Hope your weekend's off to a great start. So today I wanted to do a impressions video of the Phlebo buffers. If you're not familiar with Phlebo, they're a company that produces sidewalls for the 50/50 prime frames, and it's basically this 3D printed material that is flexible. It's intended to go over the top of the prime frames, and what they advertise it as is being able to absorb sound, and then as well as providing some shock absorption. So I skated the 50/50 prime frames. One thing I noticed is that there was a lot of shock to me with the aluminum cores. So I was very interested to see, okay, if there's a shock absorption material, how does that actually perform? So let's go ahead and talk about the product. So I want to say that this product it's either 3 or 6 millimeters. I don't quite remember. I want to say it's 3 millimeters. And it basically sits on the bottom of the frame. And then when you run your bolts through the bottom of the frame to anchor to the boot, it sits basically just like this. And so like with the FR skates that I used, the FR skates only have a bolt that holds the sole plate to the boot in the front and the back. And one thing I noticed is, once you put this Phlebo buffer on, it's basically flush with these little projections on the sole plate, which is pretty common with any oh my gosh, what's the name of it? UFS frame, because this is meant to interlock into the frame. You can see the notches here, and that helps provide like a little more secure of a connection. Well, one thing I noticed is when this flushes out, basically this frame is sitting on top of it, so you lose that nub that connects into these. And so once I put the axle in, one thing I noticed is that there was a lot of slop in the skate. And usually these things are not sloppy at all. But because this basically shims the frame out, the frame is so rigid, I just felt so much power loss, especially when I was like grinding coping and rails, because it basically causes the sole plate to move, the frame moves, and all of it's kind of independently like fighting against each other. So for me, these Phlebos are not the right product for the FR skates. These are going to be better suited for sole plates that are independently secured to the boot. And then, once you put the frame and then bolt it together, it's going to kind of create like a tighter sandwich, but just not the case for these. So the thing that I mentioned is a lot of power loss. So I felt that, even though I had speed into transitions, I was just losing speed on rails, and then also just skating around. It felt really sloppy to me because I could feel the frames and the sole plates kind of moving side to side. And that's because, with the 3 millimeters being extended out, it just creates a lot of additional play within that assembly. And since this is a little bit softer material, it just creates the ability for more movement. Now, as far as the sound, I did notice that these sounded amazing. They absorbed, a lot of the sound, created this really nice thud. So if that's something that you're really into, this would probably be a really good product for you. If you're looking for shock absorption, I did notice that using these reduced the shock, but for me it wasn't enough to be able to continue skating the 50/50 prime frames. I'm kind of on the fence about, using this product. I like it, but it all depends on what you're trying to get out of it and what kind of boot you're using, and probably what kind of frame you're using, for it to truly work. Part of the reason I say that, if you use something too much softer and you have a boot like, the FRs, that's probably going to create even more slop, just because, the rigidity helps kind of stiffen it, prevent more of that. So if you're going to go softer, you probably have to use something a little thinner just to create, just to take out some of the slop. But then, what you find is that, well, if you're making it thinner, is it reducing how much shock it can absorb? It's kind of a double-edged sword. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have problems with knees, then I think this would be a really great product. If you've got, maybe minor knee pain, then this would be something that's really great for you. But otherwise, it's a really well made product. It just doesn't work for me, and a lot of that is because, like, I had a really bad knee injury. My knee is sensitive to a lot of shock, so I just have to be careful because I don't want to try and re-injure my knee. So, for the Phlebo frames with 50/50, I haven't tried. Well, let me back up. So, yeah, Phlebo with the 50/50, too much shock for me. I did not try these with any other frame, and the reason for that is because it was apparent with the way that the sole plates attached to these boots that no matter what skate or what frame I use these with, I was going to run into the same problems with the additional slop and flex while skating, and that's not really something that I'm interested in. So, not really a fault to this product. It's more of a flaw with the FR skate and the sole plate only connecting by the frame. But overall, if you've got any questions or if you've used these, drop me a line. Let me know what you think of them, or if you have any questions. Thank you all for checking in, and hope you have a great weekend.